If you're looking for more information on anything to do with this whole area of emotional and mental health and well-being, so that's the illness end, if people are struggling or if they've become unwell, but also this much bigger topic around how do we do life as well as possible? How do you get the best from your mind, from your brain? And in this crazy season of pandemic living, as it continues, hopefully not for too much longer, but how do we support and sustain our congregations better? Head to mindandsoulfoundation.org. It's the organisation that I'm one of the directors of, along with my colleagues, and we have heaps of information and resources there, more videos, articles, links. You can also follow us on social media at Mind and Soul UK, and we have a YouTube channel as well where we've been putting out regular interviews and information a little bit like this one. So if you want more information on any of the things that I've talked about, do check those things out. And specifically relating to stress, the challenges of stress, how do we juggle all the different demands on us? There's a book that I wrote a few years ago called Refuel, how to balance work, life, faith and church without burning out. So do check that out. There are loads of useful tips and bits of information in there. And of course, teaching around what the Bible really says on this really important topic.
Welcome to the Wellbeing Journey.
And what a journey it's going to be, because right throughout this we're going to be exploring why our well-being is so important and how we go about developing a positive well-being mindset.
Yes, this series is based on Dave Smith's book, God's Plan for Your Wellbeing. But it's not just for Christians, it's for everyone. And every area of our well-being needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and well-being covers areas like our spiritual well-being, emotional, vocational, financial, and sometimes in those areas of life, a little bit like these cars, which hopefully have full fuel tanks at the moment, but in those areas, our fuel tank gauge feels very much empty. Throughout this series, we'll try and help you top up those areas.
Yeah, and we're going to be chatting to experts, teachers, and hearing real life stories.
So if we look back at the big picture of the Bible, we see there's a good God who loves us. He has a plan for us to flourish and enjoy well-being in every area of our lives.
Nutrition, sleep, physical exercise, and you're like, whoa, where do I start? I often say to people, small steps in the right direction over a long period of time have huge benefits to our lives.
And I think that's a really kind of biblical, godly kind of characteristic, actually, to not be somebody who easily takes offence, and so to be somebody who forgives easily.
I've often thought, you know what, if I really believed the Father knew my name, if I really truly got, not just in my head, but in my belly, that the Lord of heaven and earth called me his son, how my head would lift.
There's some brilliant resources that accompany this series, and there's also a youth course that runs alongside this, and there's lots of youth resources as well. Joanna, how are you feeling today?
Oh, Simon, I feel good. Now, if you'd like to join us on the journey, we would love you to. So why don't you head over to wellbeingjourney.org.
We recognised probably about 18 months ago, Dave Smith, who's the pastor of Kingsgate, who by all accounts was a very successful pastor, really felt that God was speaking to him about some fear of failure, some issues within his own life. And he started a journey of well-being. As a result of that, it was a massive impact, not just in the church, but in the community. We were meeting with Dave on something else, and we said, we think well-being is what we need to be doing at this time. And so from that, we have launched the Wellbeing Journey. And what it is it's a series of sessions where really, because we all need to improve our well-being, there's none of us that have got it all together. And so we're saying this is a great series to do in January, but you could even launch it at Christmas, because you could use the Prince of Peace, Isaiah 9, 6 and 7, Prince of Shalom, Prince of Wellbeing, and Christ wants to help with our well-being. So what it is, in essence, it's a series of 8 videos with teaching input and then specialists. So it's like some dials on a car. You could be doing really well, or you're on the red, on the green, but it's all of our well-being that God is concerned about. So we're looking at physical well-being, how you deal with sleep, how you deal with eating, emotional well-being. And these are all interconnected. They're all joined up. Spiritual well-being. We talk about a relationship with Christ. It is an evangelistic tool to build a bridge into your community. Relational well-being, financial well-being, and then vocational well-being. And what we've done is we've really said, this is the kind of thing that you could do in a sports center, you could do in a community, and you could really start to discuss together these issues. And the video series, some will roll it out on a Sunday morning and do it in small groups. Some will just do it in small groups. So at Kingsgate Community Church, they're going to roll it out in their Sunday morning series and then get the small groups to pick up and discuss it. Dave's also written a book alongside it called The Wellbeing Journey, which is 50 days of a devotional that you can all connect with while doing the course or the series. We're calling it a series. And I think prophetically at this moment in time, everybody's talking well-being. But what we need to bring is God's concern for your well-being. And it's an evangelistic, engaged community. So it's not big, in-depth Bible study, but it builds a bridge with people in your community.
Yeah, I'm really going to tell you really quickly about kintsugi hope. Kintsugi is a Japanese word that means golden joinery. So when we break a pot, we made it with super glue, we hide the cracks. What they do in Japan is they put a gold powder in the glue. So instead of hiding the cracks, they make a feature of the cracks. Arguably, the object becomes more beautiful than before. I'm a firm believer that beauty comes from brokenness. And so a couple of years ago now, me and my wife, Dan, we wrote a 12-week program around emotional well-being, a little bit like Alcoholics Anonymous, if you like. And we realized there's been so much awareness raising about mental health, but actually what do you do then? There are 2-year waiting lists at the doctor's surgery. And we know that due to COVID-19, there is going to be so many mental health issues in our community. But the key is this: there will not be a vaccine available for the effects of mental health and poverty. And so the church has to step up. We're in every community across this country. So what we do is we train churches online, with 5 hours training, people apply in this 12-week program. And we encourage churches, be brave, run it in small groups. You've already got small groups, but maybe invite your neighbours, maybe invite those single mums you know are struggling, people from food banks, people in business. And over the last couple of years, we've seen Kintsugi grow from just sort of 5 or 6 churches. Now there's 187 churches, 580 leaders running it, hundreds, if not thousands of people in Kintsugi groups every single week. Whether you run it online or offline, the church can do so much good. It's just last illustration. My mate said to me, if you've got cancer, you expect the medical professionals to give you chemo and radiotherapy, and you need that to get through a cancer journey. We can't do what the experts do. And it's the same with mental health. We've got to let the mental health experts do what they do. But to get through a mental health journey, like a cancer journey, you need community, support, people coming alongside you. And you belong before you believe. And I believe that's where Kintsugi Hope can come in.
Life can feel like a game of Tetris. No matter what you do, sometimes the blocks don't line up. Days spent trying to keep all the plates spinning, but sometimes it's just one plate too many. Or perhaps you're giving out of an empty cup. Some of us invest in our physical well-being. Why not invest in your mental and emotional well-being? We can all feel broken, but we can all discover treasure in life's scars.
Yeah, my name's Ian Cartwright. I live in York. I work for the City of York Council as the lead officer for the Armed Forces Covenant. and I also worked for the NHS as a chaplain on mental health services. Came to faith in the Methodist Church, 20 years as a layperson and 20 years or so as an ordained deacon within the Methodist Church. I've written this mental health Bible study stroke house group material because I do have lived experience of depression, anxiety and burnout. And when I was going through my various patches of depression, I really struggled to find anything which was Christian, which was accessible and useful. And so as I've got better, and part of my recovery has been to write this material so that hopefully it'll be an accessible resource that church leaders and lay people can access. Because I found that it was thin at best, both for leaders and for lay people. And so my hope from this material is that the church would be more equipped to care for people with mental health conditions and encourage the conversations about it. Yeah, so if you'd like, just get in touch through Andy if you're interested and you'd like to take this resource as a road test and just to try it, see how it works. It's done one very brief road test and that seemed to work fine. Before we make it wider available, it'd be great if you could just get in touch and just try it and see how you feel about it and how it works out for you.